welcome to my craft around the clock segment. We're going to finish this little lamb and chick tonight. All right, there's Tracy. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead, and this is as far as we got the last time. We got it based, and now we're going to do some shading and get this guy finished. All right. Hello, Miss Deanna. Okay. Where to start? I think I'm going to start on the background and get that finished first. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to do a little dry brushing here with some white. So if you missed the first part of this when we base coated this guy, it was last week's Craft Around the Clock segment. You can find it here on my page or over in the Craft Around the Clock group. You just have to search my name and it will pop up and you can watch the first part. I'll post some links with both videos after we're finished here. But if you want to search it, you can. So I'm just going to dry brush some white on this background. Hi, Miss Pat. I saw you pop in there. I'm just going to put a little bit of dry brushing in the background before we shade. So this just changes the look a little bit on the background. Adds another layer, just gives it a little something. There's Miss Paula. How are you doing? You watched the replay, Sue? That's good, of the first part. Yeah. I'm not getting this paint to come off of here. We're working on it. We're working on it. So you can just see how it kind of softens it down a little bit instead of just the plain color of the sweet mint color. Just adds a little something extra. So we're just going all the way around in between things. Hello, Cynthia. Same old, Terry. Same old. Nothing too exciting. Nothing too exciting. Oh no, you got it's snowing in Edmonton. You keep it. We don't want any more. You've had enough. You keep it right out there at West. I'm over it. Keep it all where you are, Paula. Weather's been so crazy. Anymore, you just wait and you look outside and that's what you get. You know, you can't rely on the weatherman at all. Not that you ever could, I guess. All right, so we got the rest of this in here. And I mean, you could add as much as you wanted and make it as dark as you want, but I think that's pretty good. We kind of softened it down a little bit in there. So that just sort of changes the whole look of things. And I mean, you could go on forever. You could just, you know, until you're happy. It's basically how paintings work. You just keep working on it until you're happy with how it looks. All right, now we're going to take some peacock teal here and go around the outer edges of things. Do a little shading. And I think I'm going to go around the outer edge of my board first. And now I did pin the post in, I pinned a post here that if you want the template for this little design, you can grab it. It's in the pin post right here in the comments. If you want to pop over there and grab one of these and paint one of your own. I also have, oh dear, I didn't know what that noise was. Things are falling. You can also grab the wood blank as well in my shop for this. And it's pre-engraved, so you don't have to do any line drawing or anything like that. So And grab that too. It's in there. I didn't post that link, but once you're in my shop, you can just go to wood blanks in the spring section and it will be in there. I'm just going to go all the way around just on this green part. And again, this is just another layer that adds a little something. The shading just always, I think, just brings it to life. You know, we were very plain here a minute ago, but just doing those two things already has changed the look of things in here. All right, so we're going to go a little bit across right where the little board is that he's leaning on. And then we're going to go around the outer edge of our little lamb and chick. And I'm not going to do it too dark. I'm going to dilute my paint down a little bit. I don't want to overpower things, so I'm just going to dilute it down a smidge. And just come around here and give that little shade around the outer edge. And again, you can see like just that's kind of two steps that we've done, and already it's starting to look way different than when we started. And even more so when you drop your paintbrush onto your surface. Oh my gosh. A little blue on his ear. Oh well, we're going to carry on. Sometimes with me, you'll get what to do and what not to do. That was a what not to do. Don't drop your paintbrush on your painting. Hang on to it. Ladies, hang on to it. Hi, Karina. Thanks for sprinkling, Kelly. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. All right, so we're about halfway around here. We're just going to carry on around this side. Oh my goodness. I'm a going concern. You're laughing at me, Terry. I know. I'm silly. Having silly moments. So let me know if you're new to my page as well. If there's any new faces in here, or if, you know, you've not watched me paint before. Sometimes we get new people in here, and I don't mean to not notice. I notice later, and I think, oh, heck, there's new people. So say hello if you're new. Not sure if I'm the last lady tonight. I'm calling myself a lady. That's sweet. Or if there's somebody after me. I noticed earlier there was still to be announced if anyone was after me. So I'm not sure, but stick around when I'm done because somebody may have taken that slot. I'm not sure. Tracy might be able to confirm that. Oh, well, Sue, if it's you, I'm sure it's been worse. If I think I'm accident prone, I think you got me beat. All right, so there's the shading. So again, already it looks so much different. I did bring my dryer up tonight. Last video, I didn't have it with me, and we had to watch paint dry. So tonight, I just have to plug it in, of course. But I do have it up here, so we get to dry paint and move along. This dried up. And then we'll move on to our, oh, you're new? Ileana, is that how you say your name? I hope I did not destroy your name, but I think that's what it says. Welcome. Oh, thanks, Cindy. Okay, there is somebody after me then. So somebody must have picked it up. That's good. So make sure you stick around after I'm finished here because there's somebody else coming up after me. Okay, so next up, we're going to use a little bit of shading on this little lammy. We're going to move in on the white parts. All righty. Grab some of this beige color. Now I think what I'll do is I'll start here at the ears. So this will just define all these little body parts because they're kind of all melded together right now. We're just going to get those defined. The nice thing about these pre-cut boards is, like I said, you don't have to draw anything. It's already engraved on there, and it's kind of fun. It's sort of paint by numbers, but sort of not. But you have all the places and areas to paint in already, and you don't have any guesswork, which it's kind of makes it nice. They're fun to paint. I'm going to go under his chin. And then you can always refer back to the videos. Now I know that FB likes to take them away after 30 days, but we've got Crafty and we pop them into our YT channels too, so it will always be there. They don't seem to take things away on us. So it'll be over there too after it expires here. So I'm just going around the legs and along this bottom edge and around the other leg. So you can see how his little body parts just start to reappear. Okay, we have a little bit to do on his ears. Just around this little end here. And then in on this nice little tuft on his head. Do I share my personal page? I'm not sure what that means. Like my business page or my actual personal page? Not sure what you mean. My business page is the one you're on, right? Well, if you're in Craft Around the Clock, if you click on to and open the video, you can click on my biz page if you want to follow that. Let's click on my name here. So I'm just not going all the way to the edge. I'm just kind of shading all the way around it, but leaving that little bit of white kind of peeking out at the edge there. Yeah, it'll be on, the video will be on my page, Craft Around the Clock, and I will also share it over to my YT channel. I tried to get it to stream in both places tonight, and YT and here, but it wasn't complying, so I'll just upload it later. Okay. There's that part. Oh, just along here on his feet too, above his feet I missed. Right here. Now we can move on to his face, and I'm going to use a little bit of Peaches and Cream. Yes, that's right. I just didn't say the word. I don't want to upset the Facebook gods by saying the name. So we're going to go just under this little tuft. And I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit on the sides. And then we'll go around the eyes, which are just big old black dots right this second, but we're going to do some work on those too, so that these guys can see. And then I'll put a little bit around the nose. And we're going to give that a dry. Trail tan. I'm not sure what color that is. Any of the light tan colors for sure, Paula. I think you could use burlap. You could use fawn if you still have some of that kicking around. It's pretty close. Any of the light tan colors would work. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, so we got the peach on there. So now I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber to that. And you can actually like do another shade even on, you know, with some burnt umber just to darken your shade down here at the bottom. Or if you want to add a little bit to your tan color, you can go over it with a little bit of that burnt umber as well. You know, you want to darken this down. You don't have to stop at one shade. You can layer up many times with, you know, with these colors. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that right under here, just to get that extra little shadow just underneath that tuft of hair. There's no rules. You can always play around with double shading, and you know, anywhere you think it needs a little extra darkness, you can always layer up. Acrylic paints are kind of like that. It's like building a hamburger, really. You know, each layer you add, the hamburger gets better. And it's sort of the same kind of concept as layering up with acrylics, if that makes sense to you. Okay. Next up, we'll get a little bit of wild berry out here. And we're going to do the nose, and we can do all of these little hearts here in the background because it's all the same shading color. So I'm just going to grab these ones over here that are furthest away so I don't get my hand in paint after. So we're just going to go along the bottom edge of these little hearts in the background with this brighter pink color. And the nose on our little lamb. And then we'll get these two other hearts over here. Okay. And we have a couple more things to do on the lamb, and that is eyes. We're going to do a little highlighting. Got to get a little bit of pink in his ears. And we're almost done him. So let us do our white highlight on our lamb's face first. So we're just going to go along this bottom edge of his face. Need a little more water. And I'm going to do it a little bit wide down here. So I'm just going to put a little more pressure on my brush. And bring that down there. We can get this paint to move off the brush. There we go. And while we have the white out, we can add a little highlight to his nose. And same with our little hearts in the background. We can finish those off because we have the white in our brush. Okay. Next up, we're going to take a little bit of gray. And we're going to fix his little feet up here. We're just going to put a little bit of that gray along that top edge. Like so, and then we're going to do some eyes on this guy. We're just going to highlight inside the eye there on the left side of this one and on the right side of the other one. I'm going to add dots in here too, but dots are dangerous for me, so we do those last because I will smudge them, not meaning to. It's just what I do. Get my hands all up in it. Okay, so let's put a little pink in his ears. Let's see. Let's use a little lighter pink. Oh, you certainly could, Michelle, for sure. Thank you, Janet. All right, so we're just going to dry brush a little. I don't know if this brush might be too big. We're going to give it a go here and see how we do. I just want to dry brush a little bit of pink in there. Not too much trouble. I think it might work out. Okay. Nice, nice. Okay, we're going to grab a little bit of that burnt umber. We're going to work on this little piece of wood down here. And I'm just going to shade right across the top of that. A little shadow there. And I'm going to go along the edge of my board here at the bottom as well. Keep keep encroaching on my poor lamb. And I'm going to go around these little feet. I'm liking how he's transforming. He's looking good. So on this little patch of wood that he's jumped up on here, I'm going to do a little bit of faux wood grain. And we're just going to use my liner brush and a little bit of this burnt umber once I get this shade on here to make that wood grain. Simple, simple. So how we do that is I'm going to take a liner brush and I'm going to just get some of that burnt umber and I'm going to water it down a smidge so it comes off my brush easily. And then we're just going to start over this side and we're just going to start kind of pulling in some little lines to make it look like wood. And then what I like to do to make it look even more so is I'll throw like a little knot in there. So we'll kind of go up like that in that piece. And then you just bring this down like this. And you have your little knot in there. And then you can add another little extra something in there to make it look like a knot. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but that's kind of a cool way to add wood grain. And you can kind of go around that knot a little bit too, make it look even more authentic. And I'll add another one of those down here. And I mean, you can add as many wood grain lines as you want. I just kind of try and make them as uniform as possible, but that's an easy way to make wood grain. Hello, Miss Carolyn. Okay, so next up, let's move on to our little chick. We have our chick and some of the centers of the flowers to finish, and I think we should be able to do that in the next few minutes. All right, so tangerine up next for chick. I'm going to do some shading on this guy. He's looking pretty plain up here. So we're going to add some of that light orange in here. Right along the top of our lamb. And I'm going to dry that because I might want to add another layer on there. It's pretty light. Okay. So I'm just going to add another little layer here just to darken that down a smidge. And then I'm going to go under his wing. And then there's no line here for his neck, but we're going to make one. So I'm just going to kind of bring my brush right along where the neck would be and make one. So I'm just kind of wiggling that a little bit just to give the sense of fluffy. our fluffy chick. Okay, let's dry that because I'm going to add a little bit more there. Of that light orange. This color is so light, I like to add a couple layers of it. And then we're going to put some on the bottom edge of his wing. And I'm not going to go right to the edge. I'm just going to kind of flip it around like that. And then we'll put some around his eyes and nose. Nose, beak, beak. And again, that plain old yellow chick is already starting to look different and take some shape and start transforming into something else. Well, it's still a chick, but you know what I'm saying. It's taking on a life of his own. Okay. Then we're going to add a little darker orange right at the base, just like we used the burnt umber on the lamb. We're going to use a little darker orange. Just right at the very base of that. We'll put a little bit under the wing too. We're just kind of layering up. We're not covering up the tangerine. We're just actually adding to it right at the edge. Can kind of bring a smidge in here. Then we're going to highlight them with some white. I'm going to dry brush them a little bit with some white too. I don't know if this brush is too big as well, but we're going to give it a whirl. See if we can manage it with this big fat stencil brush here. So I'm just going to bring a little bit in on his body and wing. We're going to make it work so we don't waste time digging for brushes. We're working with what we got readily available to us. That's looking pretty good. And then we'll put some up here on his little head. And then we're also going to add a little highlight shade or a little highlight on the top of his head as well with our angled brush here in a second. That's about all I can get in there with that big old brush. All right, so we're going to get some white and we're going to highlight right along his wing here and his head. Okay, now we'll work on that little beak. So we have the darker orange that we used already. We're going to put a little bit of that on the bottom edge of his beak. And a smidge of white on the top side of the beak. We're going to grab our gray for the eyes, just like our lamb. A little bit in here on the left side. Got a little too much water in there. We're going to fix that. Yeah, 9 minutes. We're down to the crunch. Down to the crunch, ladies. Can she do it? We're not having a part 3. I'm telling you right now, we're not doing it. We're going to get this done. All right. Now, centers of our flowers. We're going to take a little bit of that darker orange, and we're just going to go along that bottom edge of the center. Do that on all. The little flowers. I'm going to be touching up flowers. I keep getting orange in the white parts. That's what happens when you brush. Shouldn't brush. Okay. And then we're going to add a little white highlight to the top side of those. And I'm going to fix that petal because I got orange in it and it's going to bug me. All right, so we're going to fix that petal first and foremost. We're going to put some white on that where I got orange. Everything's fixable. I mean, it's nothing to get too upset about. It's just paint. We can fix it. We're just adding a little white highlight to each flower center, and then we're going to come back to both the chick and the lamb's eyes and finish those. And here's another petal I see I have to fix. We'll do that right now. Got a little overzealous there. He does look sweet. Now, I saw Terry's comment, don't forget his feet. Well, I did do the feet a little bit there, but they're still looking pretty dark. So we're going to come back in here and we're going to add a little more gray. And maybe bring it down a little more. And then we can add a little line for the center of his hooves. Hooves. I never have an issue with that word. Okay. So then you can add, where's my liner? Need some black. You can add that little center line if we can see it. We'll see. If I got my shade of gray down far enough, we'll be able to see this little black line I put in here. So just kind of in the center. And I don't know how much you can see from there, but I can see it here. Yeah, you must have missed it because I did do it. You must have blinked or something. Hi, Kathy. All right, I'm going to take some white on my liner and I'm going to go around. No, maybe, yeah. Yes, white. Just looking at my original. And I'm just going to create a little circle on the outer edge of these eyes. Now, I have to concentrate hard here. Don't want to mess it up. Just to make those eyes pop a little bit more and not be just so plain black. I'm going to do the same thing with this little guy down here. And then we're going to add some dots and we should be done. We managed to get it finished in part 2 because I threatened there would be no part 3. the painting that never ends. Not so steady tonight. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. And then we can add some eye dots. And then once you add the eye dots, it's like they can see now. It's amazing. All right, so we're just going to take our little stylus. We're going to add a dot there, a dot there, which again, now it's like their little eyes light right up. And then here and here. And then I'm going to add some white dots in and around my flowers and my hearts. Okay. And then you can just randomly add these wherever. And I'm just using white and my little stylus pen here. Random. Trying not to smudge. Get my fingers and things. Get my hands all up in it. Cannot be trusted with wet dots. Let's stick one there, one there. But I mean, you could go on forever until you're happy with that too. So there he is. He and she. Let's say he and she. Why not? Super cute.